I'm going to lock the truck. Yeah, there we are. All right, guys. Welcome to episode 10 of the Let's Walk and Talk podcast. Today it's going to be more Q&A focused. So I'm just going to kind of pick random topics and get going. And then once people join in and start asking questions, I'll be more prioritizing people's questions rather than whatever topics I choose. So in the meantime, we'll get things started until people join. If you're brand new to this, how this works is I go on a walk around town and I basically pump knowledge into your heads for about an hour. Anything related to, fitness or weight loss. Sometimes it can be lifestyle improvements, things of that nature. And the idea is that I'd preferably have you guys out doing things as well. So if you're watching this live, obviously that might not happen, but if you're watching this on playback, put me on, go on the treadmill. Maybe you go out and you're doing yard work, mowing the lawn, doing laundry, etc., etc. It's all about basically just being as productive as possible. Right off the bat, it's a little bit abnormally hot here in Michigan. So today it's about 90 degrees. So I may cut this short depending on how hot it gets. As I am walking out here, it can sometimes be, a little much. I've already got a little bit of a sunburn from my run that I went on yesterday. Not a cloud in the sky, so I just got completely fried out. If you're just joining, I'm also preparing for a marathon. So I run basically like 7 to 8 hours a week. And Saturdays are my big run days. So I've been getting out every morning on Saturdays around 5 a.m. and I go for my long runs. Yesterday was a great long run, but I will say around 9:30 the sun was just really cooking me. It's weird to think. I mean, that's still pretty early in the day, but even as early as it was, the sun was just really knocking me out. So we'll see how long I stream for today. We'll try to go for the full hour, but I'm not sure it's going to happen. But I guess since I'm already on the topic of running, I guess I can just kind of keep running with that. So I have been running pretty hard for the past 6 months or so. I actually never ran before, so well, it's not like I never ran, but I never ran for the sake of running. I would play sports or I would do, cardio at the gym, just kind of like elliptical or, spin bike, but I never ran just to run until March. Going from zero, I ran my first half marathon in June. And now I've got the full marathon coming up in October. So if you've ever wanted a frame of reference, how long would I need to get ready for something like this? From going from the couch to a full marathon, it's taken me personally about 6 months. So if anyone out there that's watching this is interested in doing that, you can get there a lot faster than you think. Although you will have to, follow a program. You're going to need to be disciplined. Obviously, you can't just give up on it. But if running marathons is anything that some of you guys are interested in, I know a lot of you guys are probably just kind of scrolling through. But if that was on your docket, on your bucket list, I can talk a little bit about how you would prepare for something like that. And then, of course, if you guys got questions, whether it's weight loss, building muscle, anything like that, you ask me a question and we'll kind of switch topics to address whatever your needs are. But sorry if I'm a tad winded. I just went up a pretty steep hill and I haven't really moved yet today. So my cardiovascular system's not really awake yet. But my prep for marathon, I'm kind of doing it all myself. I'm not really following like a rigid program, but I do know enough about this stuff to know how progressive overload works. And basically, I run 1 extra mile every week. And as long as I'm able to do that, I know I'm progressively overloading. So currently I'm doing about 3 to 5 mile runs Monday through Friday. And then on Saturdays, I go for my long run. Every Saturday, I try to push that long run by 1 mile. So yesterday, I did 18 miles. I'm getting pretty close to being marathon ready. Running this kind of volume, it's kind of hard at this point in the game to keep doing mile after mile. So next week, I'll probably take a deload, maybe only run like 13 or 14 miles. But then after that, I'll probably push for 19. So if you're a rookie just getting started, like let's just say you had never run before literally at all, and it's like, okay, I want to at least try this thing out. I would say 3 days a week, just see if you can go out and run a single mile. Nothing crazy. Don't worry about how long it takes or what your time is or anything like that. Just see if you can do the 1 mile. If that starts working out, increase your training days from like 3 days to 4 and then eventually 5, so that like 5 days a week you're just running a single mile, nothing crazy. For most people, something like that would even be considered like a warm-up. So you do that, eventually you can start increasing the mileage. So maybe one day you're like, okay, instead of running 1 mile today, I'm gonna run 2. And if you're running 5 days a week, think of it kind of like a flip board. Like, I'm going to take one of these days, I'm going to flip it from a 1 to a 2. And then next week, I'm going to take another day and flip that from a 1 to a 2 until you've gotten to a place where all 5 training days got flipped from 1s to 2s. This is what I did actually exactly to get to my half marathon in June. I worked my way up to running a 3 mile run every single day. I actually did 7 days a week, so I didn't do 5, I did 7. But I would flip every single day until I got to 3 miles. Once I accomplished that, I would then try to get to a 10K. That one was a little bit more intense, so I'd do like 3 miles, 3 miles, 3 miles, then flip to 4, and so forth, until I was doing about 5 miles a day and then like 1 or 2 10Ks a week. At that point, I was pretty much ready for the half marathon. And then I had to start introducing long runs. So we'll get that into a second. I do see a comment here. Yo, great stream, my guy. Have a blessed day. Thank you. Hey, stick around. I'll tell you exactly how to run a marathon. All for free. You don't have to buy any programs. So for the half marathon, same idea for the full, but it's less mileage. So I was doing my daily 5 mile runs. Every Saturday I'd push that mileage out. So, one Saturday I go for 7. Then the next Saturday I go for 8, et cetera, all the way up to 13. There you go. You've got your half marathon. All the other training days were going to stay the same. So it's all about keeping everything else consistent. And you take a single variable and you just kind of amplify it until you get that progressive overload. Same concept with lifting weights too. If you're trying to make a muscle bigger, the best thing to do is to take one element of your weight training and just add a little bit. Maybe you add a rep or you add weight. Well, I see we got some comments. Let me get some shade and I'll try to read some of them real quick. Here we go. There's some shade right here. I'm a fast runner too. Nice. What's your pace? Yeah, I do a daily 5 mile run. Well, okay. Actually, let me correct that statement. I've joined a few run clubs, and the run clubs only run 3 miles. So when I do the run clubs, I actually kind of only do 3, but I could run 5 miles a day. I'm up to 40 miles a week right now. So sometimes on my Wednesdays, because I don't do a run club on Wednesday, the miles I didn't run on Monday and Tuesday, I add to my Wednesday run. So it's kind of looking more like Monday 3 miles, Tuesday 3 miles, Wednesday like 9 miles. Thursday will be 5 mile run. I usually take Friday completely off so that I can handle my Saturday long runs. And then, after this live stream, I'm actually going to go for my 5 mile run. And when it's super hot like this, I usually have to do some of these runs on a treadmill because the sun just fries you out too much. Let's see what we got. I was white once until the fire. 70s porn star. Ooh, 5K in 20 minutes that's pretty good, man. That's like it's like what, a 6-minute mile? That's awesome. Yeah, I'm not that fast. I come from the bodybuilding world, so I am like 200 pounds. Most of these quick runners are like 150. I can run a 7-minute mile one time, but I can't, for example, run multiple 7-minute miles. So it's actually a good point. When I do the run club, because there's like 500 people at this thing, I kind of treat it like I'm running a real race. So every Monday I run as fast as I can. I've been completing my 5Ks in like 24 minutes, which I know isn't like that fast, but for me it's nice. Plus there's like traffic lights and stuff that you wouldn't deal with in a normal race. And the traffic lights do add to your time. So it's kind of hard for me to tell at this moment what my fastest 5K would be. I haven't really attempted one. But according to my Strava, I'm at least able to hit these 24-minute 5Ks, which I think is pretty nice. What times you run? I try to run. So on Saturday, I try to be on the track at this really nice state park we've got here in Michigan around 6:45 or 7 a.m. Because once it's past 10 a.m., it gets really, really difficult for me to run in the sun. I know some people can handle it, but I don't know what it is. When it's over 80 degrees, I get very lightheaded and dizzy. It's not a lung issue or even like a muscle fatigue issue, but it's more like I have trouble like keeping my head up, and like I don't want to faint out here in the hot sun. So I try to either do all of my runs in the morning or at night after sunset. And if I can't do that, then I just go to the gym and run on the treadmill. Knees don't ache. No, I am pretty fortunate. Coming from the bodybuilding space, my skeletal structure is very strong, so I can take a lot of damage. Like before I was running, I was doing a lot of hockey, and it doesn't matter how hard I got hit into the boards or anything like that. I'm able to just get up and keep going. And I attribute that to probably a lot of the heavy squats that I've done. So I've been doing bodybuilding for almost 10 years now. So I've been squatting every week for pretty much a decade. So my bones and my joints are all very strong. I wouldn't say indestructible, but I just don't really get injured. Knock on wood. Not saying that it can't happen. I'm just saying that it hasn't happened. Let me get some more shades so I can read some of these comments. Running is a lot of pounding on the joints, but if you have good running form, a lot of that actually goes away. So one thing I've really practiced is my foot strike when I run. What I mean by foot strike is how your foot lands on the concrete, or if you're on a trail, on the path, or wherever your foot is landing on. You want to make sure that, every foot strike is a little bit different. There's advantages to some, but what I've been doing to stay injury free is I try to land on my midfoot. So I try to absorb not only the shock of the run on my balls of my feet, but I try to get, that would be something called pronation. Or I think it's either pronation or supination. Sometimes I get them mixed up. And then if you see someone landing on like their outsides of their feet, like on their pinky toes, that I believe is pronation. And that's how you build up long-term injuries. So if you land on your midfoot, like think of that middle ass toe you got, the not your ring toe, but your middle toe. You think about just kind of landing on that, on the balls of your feet. It's very unlikely that you'll get injured. Another good thing to do, as far as running goes, you try to have like a 10 degrees forward tilt so that you are, in a weird way, kind of falling over on every step. And then instead of having your steps go outward, like, let me see if I can visually represent this. Like, instead of having your foot go like out, your foot just goes up. And you let the gravity of you having a forward tilt give you that forward momentum. So your feet are just kind of like chopping. And it takes a lot of practice to get right. But once you do, it's like you'll never get injured again. Maybe someday I'll do a video on foot strike. I haven't done one yet because I'll be honest, I haven't really mastered it yet. So I don't want to teach it until I've got it down. But that's basically the idea behind that. Yeah, midfoot the best way. How tall am I? I am unfortunately a centimeter away from 6 foot. So I just round up. Otherwise, if I'm being honest with you, I'm 5'11 and a half. Did the live stream end? I hope not. Sometimes when I do these mobile live streams, I'm kind of held hostage by my cell signal. So sometimes, the stream can go in and out. I wish there was more I could do about that, but I kind of like doing the mobile podcast. It helps me get my juices flowing a little bit more than if I was stationary. Plus, it helps me get my steps in. So I look 6'3". Thank you. Oh, thanks. I appreciate the shoulders. I'm really big on shoulders. So I got my start in bodybuilding. In fact, my channel was originally supposed to be a bodybuilding channel, but I kind of diversified it a little bit. The secret to big shoulders, there's only 3 exercises you need. And once you do these, there's no reason to ever deviate or mix things up. The first one is going to be dumbbell overhead press using a seated bench. If your gym has a seated, like, right angle bench, that's perfect. If it's got the retractable bench, just try to make it as vertical as you can. I know sometimes they peak out at like 80 degrees, but the more vertical, the better. And then as far as form goes, for your overhead press, just touch the dumbbells to the top of your delts and then press all the way up. Some people say not to clink at the top. I clink at the top, not because it does anything, but because it lets me know that I've completed the range of motion. That's simply it. I mean, there's really nothing more complicated about it than that. It's not like clinking at the top does anything for the muscle. You'll see some people on Instagram reels saying not to do it, so that's just sort of the clarification I'm giving on that. But if you're touching the dumbbells to your delts and then clinking at the top, you get a full range of motion. It's going to really boost your anterior deltoids. That'll be the front guys right here. And then you want to do seated lateral raises. The same place you do your shoulder press from, you can do lateral raises, and that's going to really give you that 3D look. And then lastly is going to be reverse flies. So if your gym has a pec deck, you literally just sit in that thing backwards. Most pec decks these days have a switch in the axle that goes to like a rear grip or a reverse grip fly. Usually it's called like setting 0. So look for that at your gym. Otherwise, you can do them with dumbbells. You just have to bend over, kind of like you're doing a deadlift, and then just reverse fly out. If you do those 3, you'll have 3D shoulders. You'll never need to do another shoulder exercise again. Some people do all kinds of weird looking exercises in the gym. I've always believed that the most basic exercises work the best. So none of that steering wheel, none of that weird stuff. No weird shoulder raises, like none of that. Just do some presses and some laterals and some reverse flies, and you'll have really good shoulders. All right, let's see if we got some questions. Tortellini, that's what I was thinking. Shoulder press. Does your heel touch the ground when you run? I try not to have it. Well, let's put it this way. I try not to ever land on my heel. If I land on my midfoot, my heel should very gently be touching, but it's not the point of contact. I'm trying to really feel it out right now. I would say your heel should absorb maybe like 10% of the foot strike, but it should never be like the focus. Ooh, I'm going to go in this direction because there's a lot of shade here. It makes it easier for me to read the comments. Those first ones are technically called soldier dumbbell press. I'm just referencing being straight backed. Heel toe, heel toe. So yeah, as far as foot strike goes, it's really important. It's something a lot of people probably don't practice, but I spent some time practicing it on a treadmill. If you just set the treadmill to something really slow, like a 5 mile an hour pace, I think that's like an 11-minute pace. You just want to really practice getting that feel right, and then try to make it muscle memory where the foot strike is mid-foot. Some of the cues you can think of in your mind is to get that middle toe. It's kind of like the mental focus of your foot strike. That's going to keep your ankles from pronating or supinating. And then beyond that, just get used to the idea of you're actually lifting your legs. So sometimes you see people that run, they kind of like shuffle their feet like they're a crab. That's going to get you injured for sure. It's only a matter of time. You don't want to do that. You almost want your running to look like a bicycle. So like if you think about bicycle kicks, the way they kind of rotate in like a perfect circle, you kind of want your running stride to look like that. So you're going to need a little bit more flexion of the knee. Get the ankles a little bit more back. You don't have to be kicking yourself in the butt, but like you definitely want your ankles to bend backwards so that your foot is like perpendicular with your ass, at least at some point in your stride. That'll go a long way at preventing injuries. It does require a little bit more effort up front, so I think that's why a lot of people don't do it. But in the long run, once you've developed the muscles to be able to pull that off, it'll keep you running injury-free. It also increases your pace, I believe. Another thing that's really helped with my pace, if I'm running for speed, I try to think about running with my back. I know that might sound kind of weird, but with my arms, I kind of just imagine I'm doing the same thing I'd be doing if I was rowing, like single arm pulls. So like I'll take my arm and really just whoosh. And I find that gives me a significant burst of speed. Whereas if I didn't change anything else, doing that alone will take 30 seconds off my mile time. So that's what I do if I'm trying to really get down below an 8-minute mile. But I'll admit I'm still not the fastest runner yet. By the way, if any of you guys are on Strava, you can add me on Strava and follow all my runs. I don't run very fast, I'll admit. I'm still kind of a heavier guy, 200 pounds, but just doing my best out there. Does your mustache have magical powers? I wish my mustache, in a perfect world, I'd have a much thicker mustache. I don't know if any of you guys know who Dr. Disrespect is, but I know his mustache is fake, but man, I love that thing. It's kind of what I wish I had, but you got to work with your own biology. You know, that's genetics. I can't grow a beard for shit, so mustache, I had to do something. It can't be totally clean shaven, so mustache is what I went with. Let's see what we got here. What marathon am I doing? I'm doing the Detroit Marathon. So the Detroit Marathon, at least here in Michigan, that's kind of like the big one. There's a lot of marathons in Michigan, but that's the one that gets the biggest crowds. I think it also is a marathon you can run to be qualified to run the Boston Marathon, which I think would be kind of sweet. I definitely am not ready by any stretch of the means to get qualified for the Boston Marathon, but it is kind of like, okay, if I want to take this thing seriously, that's kind of like the goal, right? I get pretty competitive with stuff. I've done a few bodybuilding shows. I've done 7 of them. I'm playing hockey, and it's like if I'm gonna do something, I don't want to just do it just to say I did it. Like I want to like be good at it. So having the goal of like, okay, let's see if we can take this thing all the way to the Boston Marathon. that the idea to me is pretty cool. Who knows if I actually make it or not, but that's kind of what I'm training for right now. So I'm doing all kinds of different drills for speed work. Actually, after this live stream, I'm going to go run parking garages so I can get good at running at an incline. And just doing stuff like that to help kind of diversify my skill sets. Because I hear the Boston Marathon has a ton of hills. And the Detroit Marathon, I don't know if any of you guys watching this are familiar with how Detroit is laid out, but we got some very long bridges. So the Detroit Bridge going into Canada is actually one of the longest land bridges in North America. And because of that, it actually has a pretty steep elevation. So you run over this bridge. The bridge is like a mile long. So, imagine running at like a 1 or a 2% incline for an entire mile. And then you got to, after you run through Canada, you've actually got to run back. So you got to basically do that twice. But the second time, I'm going to turn around because I hit the main road. The second time you end up running through a tunnel. This tunnel goes from Windsor, Canada, back to Detroit. And the tunnel is also an incline the entire way through. What makes the tunnel harder than the bridge, though, is that it's in an enclosed space. And I haven't run it yet. I'm just going off what people have told me. But I hear it gets extremely hot down there. So imagine running at an incline with like sauna temperatures, like 100 degrees plus. So I'm kind of trying to get myself ready for running a very long distances at like a 2-3% incline grade. And then, after that, you've still got a whole ass marathon to run, right? Because the bridge and the tunnel are like miles 3 and 8. So it's like you still got another 20 miles to go when it's done. Let's see what we got. I'm trying to do the Wings for Life next year. That's cool. Where's that one at? I've heard of some pretty big name marathons that people travel for. I think that would be cool for me to kind of eventually do. The Chicago Marathon's also a bucket list. I think you have to qualify for that one. Or you have to at least be a part of some charity. I'll be honest, I actually don't know how some of these more advanced marathons work. Still trying to figure all that stuff out. I just got into running this year, so kind of a rookie on that. But yeah, Wings for Life sounds fun. Who knows? Maybe I'll see you there if I figure out when and where it is. Once my marathon's done, I'm probably going to pivot to snowboarding, at least for the winter. I'll probably still do a little bit of running, but I just love snowboarding. But here in Michigan, you can only do it for like 3 months. Oh, here we go. All over the world, but Europe is the most competitive one. I love Europe, but it might be a while before I can go back. Just having like a full-time job and everything, just you got kind of held back by how many vacation days you got. And flying to Europe, you basically need a day for travel there and a day for travel back. So it's hard to just kind of get out there. But, oh, you can run it from everywhere? Does that mean it's like a virtual run then? I think these walk and talk streams are not so good. What would you do to make them better? I'm always open for, feedback and improvement. On your end, is it like bad quality for audio or what exactly is it? I'll wait to see if we get a response on that one. But yeah, always trying to find ways to improve the quality for you guys to make this a better viewing experience. I just thought, going out for a walk would be a interesting way to kind of be different, right? But if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Well, as far as the marathons go, yeah, I'm definitely open-minded to doing more marathons after this one. For the winter, do some hockey, do some snowboarding, and then probably get back into it starting in the spring. Might try to do a half Ironman. Because I feel like if you can do the run, I don't know, maybe I'm being overconfident, but I feel like biking's not really that hard. So it's like all you really gotta do is just learn how to swim. Well, I've never really swam for any particular reason before, so I'd have to kind of start from scratch there. But beyond that, I mean, biking, as long as your ass can handle sitting in the seat for like 4 hours, and you can build up a tolerance to that, I feel like you can kind of just like autopilot the bike race. You don't have to be cooking it the whole time. Hey, what's going on? We're just talking about marathon prep, and I might potentially do an Ironman next year. We'll see. It'd be a half Ironman, not the full. The full ones are still a little bit too crazy for me. I don't honestly know how people do that. I mean, 9 hours of exercising, it's like, don't you need to eat at some point or like take a piss or whatever? I don't know. Well, pissing you got porta johns or whatever, but like, what if you had to shit your pants? I don't know if you guys follow this kid on Instagram. His name is Davis Clark, but he shit himself running a marathon, and then, he had like shit on his leg in his video. I'm like, damn, dude, I'm not that about it. I would just pull over to the side and do what I gotta do. I would not keep running with shit rolling down my leg. Oh yeah, if I'm still lifting while I run, yeah, I lift every day, man. I'm addicted to the gym. I go to the gym. I lift weights every day except for my long run. So I did back and biceps this morning. After this stream is over, I'm gonna go do parking garage runs. So I always lift. I don't think the lifting really interferes with running at all. If anything, I think they complement each other. The lifting helps me not be prone to injuries because, stronger muscles and joints and tendons and all that fun stuff helps you be guarded against some of the repetitive nature of, endurance running. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, it could be, but if you go like the Europe, Asia, New York. What does that mean exactly? They put a Red Bull car to try to get you. They give you a 30-minute head start. I guess I don't know what that means, but was that for like running the Wings for Life thing? Well, I'll wait to get back to you on that one. But I do weight train every day. I have a 4-day split. The only thing I haven't actually been that strict on are my leg days, because I don't want my leg days to interfere with my ability to run. Oddly enough, my ability to run has dramatically increased how much I can squat and do in the gym for legs. So much so that sometimes I find that I'm not able to do my run the next day if I go and squat till my heart's content. So I have kind of dialed back on that a little bit. But my current weight training regimen is kind of like this. I do chest and triceps, back and biceps, shoulders and triceps, legs and biceps. So I'm training arms every day, whether it's bicep or tricep. I alternate. And then I basically stick to the core compound lifts. So on chest day, I'm a high frequency trainer, low volume. So I'll go in and do maybe 5 or 6 sets of chest, and then maybe like 3 to 4 sets of triceps, and that's a workout for me. So, I might do some incline press and then some pec deck. But I train very close to failure on every set. I try to go as hard as I can. The thing I tell myself when I'm lifting weights is to treat every single set as if it's the only one I'm doing that day. So I don't save energy for the next set. I've heard people be like, "Oh, I can't go all out on this set because I got to still do the next one." Nope. If I go so hard that I can't do the next set, that means I did something right. So I go as hard as possible on every set, and I keep them short. And I never allow myself to get too banged up from the weight training that I wouldn't be able to go and lift weights the next day. So I kind of I'm not necessarily a Mike Mentzer guy, but I do think there's something to be said for if you overtrain to some extent, your body is using that energy just to bring the muscle back to baseline, and it doesn't have the opportunity to actually grow and get stronger. Whereas if you gave it just the right amount of stimulus, then it recovers and it has the opportunity to get stronger. It's kind of like the Goldilocks of lifting weights, you know. If you don't lift hard enough, you don't get enough stimulus to grow. If you lift too hard and too much, then you've also destroyed the stimulus, and now your body's just trying to get back to baseline. So it's finding that nice sweet spot. And I think that volume or low volume, high frequency training is the cheat code to accomplishing that. That's how I've been training for about the past 3 years. Let me get some shade. I think we got some new comments. Have you ever weighed yourself after a giant poop? Yeah, I can drop like 2 or 3 pounds easily. I weigh in every morning after doing all my business. Yeah, actually, it's funny. I'll weigh in before I do my business, and then I'll weigh in after just to see how much I lose. It's always somewhere between 2 and 3 pounds. A piss, I can easily lose 2 pounds on a piss in the morning. And then if I do poop, it's like another 2 or 3 pounds. Do you pyramid up in weight each set or keep it the same? I actually reverse pyramid. So I start out with my heaviest set first. So just give you an example. I'm trying to add reps to my incline press. So I'm not increasing weight on the incline right now. I'm trying to increase reps. And I'm able to do about 4 reps of 225 with like super clean form. And then on the next set, I go down to like 205. And the next set, I go down to 185. Goal there is to eventually get my 225 up to like 7 or 8 reps of very, very, very clean form. What I mean by clean form for me is the bar has to touch my sternum without any momentum, meaning I got to pause it for at least like a quarter of a second, like so no bouncing allowed or anything like that. And it makes the exercise significantly harder, but also significantly more stimulating. So, you know, it's a win-win situation. But yeah, everything is reverse style. Sometimes I'll do a warm-up set. I don't even really count those. A warm-up set is simply just to get blood in the muscle. So maybe I have the 1 plate on each side, and I might do like 7 or 8 reps. But I don't even consider that as part of my working sets. The things that mustache has seen could write a book. No comment. I'm trying to keep this channel PG-13, guys. I could write a couple books. Let's see. Your gains are insane. Kudos to you for the hard work and consistency. Thanks, Mandy. You know, it's funny. I grew up very overweight. I was incredibly good at World of Warcraft up until about the age of about 22 or 23. So I was a very late bloomer. I mean, if I can do it, anybody can do it. One day I realized, I don't know if I'd say one day, but it was something that I slowly over time realized from playing WoW or World of Warcraft was like, I'm spending all this time getting this character like min-maxed. I was like a min-max WoW player. I was doing what they call mythic raiding. I don't know if you played the game, you might not know what that means, but it basically means I was that guy eating the Cheetos, lean back, like in the South Park episode. And I was like, I'm spending all this time making this character as good as possible, but like you get nothing for it in the real world. It's like, what if I started doing that with my real life character? So I kind of approached bodybuilding and like nutrition with that same like insanity of min-maxing. So I spent a lot of time researching every which way you could do bodybuilding until I've kind of ended up where I am here. I do to some extent feel that I've maxed out on bodybuilding. I've done like 7 shows now, and when I go back and look at the photos, I'll be honest, like, you never really change that much. Like, you always hear people be like, I'm gonna come back for the next show, I'm gonna be bigger and I'm gonna be harder and blah blah blah. It's like, dude, you look the fucking same. Maybe the judges see differences, but the average person has no idea that you added a centimeter to your bicep. And I feel like for the most part, I've kind of maxed out on bodybuilding. The only thing that could make a difference at this stage is like, do I want to be single digit body fat all the time? Because that lifestyle also sucks. Like, if you've never been in the single digits of body fat, your body in multiple different ways just stops working and optimally, and in some places, like, at all. It's very true that the leaner you are, the harder it is to be romantic, if you know what I'm saying. Well, that problem goes away if you just get even to like 10% body fat. All of that stuff goes away. So I think 10% to 12% is ideal if you're like fit and in shape. Yeah, maybe you don't have the most like ridiculous looking six pack, but all the other parts of your life are much more enjoyable. I'll be 25 next month. I've always been chunky weird kid. You know, I've been right there with you. So, a little bit of a backstory here. I come from a long history of eaters. Like, everyone in my family is, for the most part, you know, like American style obese. And I'm not trying to hang anyone out to dry. It's just sort of the truth. So for most of my life, every aspect of it was surrounded by food. And it wasn't like, if the family was getting together, you couldn't just have cake, because there had to also be ice cream. And you couldn't just have ice cream, you had to have a soda pop too. And so it was just this constant revolving door of eating, you know, high fructose corn syrup and soybean oil foods. At my heaviest, I was 240 pounds, and I was maybe, I don't know, 22 or 23 at the time. I can't remember the exact dates, but anybody can do it. I mean, if your goal is to lose weight, it's never too late to get started. So don't feel that 25 is too late. If anything, 25 is pretty early in the grand scheme of things. I just recently got started. Well, I'll say this about the getting skinnier thing. I actually can understand what you're saying with that, because, like, a lot of, I mean, let's be real. As a bodybuilder, why would anyone become a bodybuilder unless if they don't, like, severely hate themselves, right? Like, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Everyone who gets into it has to have some sort of craziness to them to stick with that for as long as they do, and to do some of the things you have to do to get that lean. Self-love it's related to weight loss, but it's not going to be totally fixed by it. So another really big thing that I like to talk about is self-talk. So what do I mean by self-talk? Let me use like an analogy. So if your brain is a factory, and that factory is producing goods all day, think of your thoughts as like the components of whatever product you're making. And this product goes into like an assembly line. So the thoughts that you're feeding yourself all day is what ends up becoming the product that you make hundreds of. So I know this from personal experience. Just, I would give myself the hardest time. I was always my hardest critic. And a lot of the thoughts I would think would materialize in the real world as like self-hatred and self-loathing. And it's what prevented me from breaking out of, you know, some of the ruts that I've been in my life. And then turning that on its head, it can be very weird at first to give yourself compliments. There's like this uncanny valley to it. It's like, if I hate myself, why am I why am I saying you can do this, or why are you saying you look great or you're capable or whatever. You don't believe it. But the thing is, if you keep doing it, you replace your assembly line in your own mental factory from producing the shit product with producing the good product. And over time, the more good products you produce, the less shit products you produce, because the brain, like in an assembly line, can only do one thing at a time, right? Like you can only have good thoughts or you can have bad thoughts. You can't really simultaneously have both. So if you're able to just sort of, you got to almost hack it, be like, okay, every time I look in the mirror, I'm giving myself a compliment. And it doesn't matter if you believe the compliment or not, you just do it anyways. And what happens over time is your compliments will overpower the negative mental talk, and a lot of that self-loathing goes away. I dealt with that really badly for a long time. I even dealt with that after doing bodybuilding shows. So you're completely right that losing weight isn't enough to make those feelings go away. But having good self-talk does. And it can be tough at first. But the better you get at it, the better you get at it. One of the things I tell myself probably 100 times a day, this is what I personally use, is these exact words. I'm the perfect guy for this. And whether that sounds arrogant to other people or what have you, makes no difference, because these are thoughts in my own head that no one has to hear. So it's like I'm the only audience person hearing that. Let me catch up on some of these comments. Strength training because I know my body can be more than that, but you gotta heal your insides just as much as losing weight. Exactly. The fitness journey and the mental journey are intertwined. I think you can't have one without the other. I do think the fitness journey is just as important, though. A fit body just feels better to be in than an unfit body. I mean, there's just no real way around that one. When I was 240 pounds and lethargic, a lot of the food that you eat also has an impact on this. When your body is not in motion, that feeling of not being in motion leads to depression. So a lot of times depression is really just a stagnant body. Like stagnant water grows bacteria on it. Running water does not. So that's why animals drink from rivers and not lakes. So if you kind of use that same analogy in your own life, it's like, as long as I'm moving, as long as I'm doing something, I can keep the demons at bay. And that, I think, goes a long way to mental health. I don't think you could ever be so mentally healthy that you're permanently cured. And what I mean by that is, let's say, you put someone in solitary confinement. They're in a box. They can't talk to anyone. They can't move. I don't care who you are. I think every single person on earth would develop a mental health crisis from being in solitary confinement. And so I think really movement is, in a lot of cases, the answer. But then you also do have to have that good mental self-talk too. So you'd want to, train in both, get good at doing both. And I think that would go a long way at kind of helping alleviate some of that self-hatred. Because I know from experience, I don't think I ever hated myself as much as I did when I was playing, World of Warcraft, doing mythic raids. I had really good items, but I was horribly overweight and just things weren't really going well for me outside of the video game. So yeah, I'm hoping that was kind of helpful for you. I'm going to switch hands because I'm getting a cramp in my left hand. There we go. By the way, how did you guys feel about the mobile podcast? Someone left a comment earlier that didn't necessarily like the format, but I want to do what I can to give you guys good content. So Maybe that was just a one-off. Maybe that guy just didn't like it and other people are having a good time. Maybe that's, good feedback. So love to hear from the rest of you guys. How are you liking me being out in nature, doing my own daily walks, and doing all this outdoorsiness? Would you prefer that I do this at my desk? Would that be an easier format to follow? You guys just let me know, and I'm always willing to kind of adapt and change, do what I got to do to make this the best viewing pleasure for you guys. Okay, cool. Hey, if you like it, I'll keep doing it. I like this because it does actually, walking stimulates my mind. It helps me process thoughts better. So I find that I stutter less when I'm walking. Walk and talk is cool. Awesome. That's what I like to hear. Yeah, I stutter less when I'm walking. You guys probably won't know it, but when I do my long form videos sitting at my table, I stutter like crazy. I have to spend a lot of time editing my videos because I don't know, it's weird. I don't know how to explain it, but if I'm walking, I can get an idea out perfectly. But if I'm sitting at my table, I get tongue-tied and I mispronounce words. And sometimes people have left comments be like, this guy's mispronouncing words, or this guy's the video's jumping around too much. It's just because I had to edit it out that way. And also sometimes I get the math wrong on my whiteboard. Funny thing about that, I had a video once where the math was correct, but I had a stutter, so I had to redo, I had chop part of it out. And then by doing that chop, the math actually was wrong. So I almost had to delete the whole video for that. It's weird how this stuff works. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes of a YouTube video until you start making them yourself. And it's like, oh, now I kind of get why some videos are this way or that way, or how YouTubers can make mistakes. Maybe it's not that they don't know what they're talking about, but that they screwed up in their own editing. And that'll get better as I get better at talking to a camera. What we got here? It was incredibly helpful. I've been stuck in this, but not taking constructive criticism. The other person turned it down. Not the case at all. Oh, thanks for joining, Mandy. I'm glad it's the first time. A lot of the times, what we perceive becomes our reality, and so you might think that other people are being critical of you, when in reality they may not even be acknowledging your situation at all. And this can happen for everybody, so it's not like a personal thing. Just to give out kind of like a blanket example, when I talk to people that are afraid of getting started in the gym, usually one of the biggest things that they say is that they don't want to go in the gym and be judged by other people. They don't want to be laughed at or being made fun of. The reality is those other people that they're worried about making fun of them probably have such bad body dysmorphia that they don't even notice, the overweight person in the gym, because literally everybody has body dysmorphia. Especially the leaner and the more in shape you get, the worse it gets. So I guess just to kind of, wrap that idea up, the most critical person is usually yourself. And if you can find ways to kind of alleviate that, it makes a lot of your personal relationships better. I think the self-talk is a real good one. You just give yourself compliments. It doesn't have to be cocky stuff. You don't necessarily have to be I'm better than other people, or I'm the best looking guy. We want to give yourself compliments that lead to some sort of actionable result. So it's and instead of saying I can't run a mile, you say something I'm going to go out and run this mile. And if you're not in a position where you can run the mile yet, you say something along the lines of, I'm going to get stronger so I can run this mile. And you kind of frame the idea up in this, it's the same idea, right? I'm going to run a mile, or I can't run a mile. It's the same idea. The idea is running a mile. But when you change the vocabulary from I can't run the mile to I'm going to get stronger so that I can run the mile, you start to make up solutions. So, when you say the word I can't, you kind of close the book, right? So like the thing that you want to do, as soon as you say I can't, your mind automatically erases any ability for there to be options. But if you instead approach the thing like, I might not be ready to run the mile, but I'm going to find a way to do it, now your brain starts looking for solutions to the problems. You start looking for ways to do it. And then once you do the thing you've been trying to accomplish, you set new goals, and the more goals that you set and accomplish, the easier it's going to be to have like continued positive self-talk. That's part of the reason why I do so many different things. Like, I do bodybuilding shows, I play hockey, I'm training for a marathon in 2 months. All of these things were things that were at one point in my life like unattainable. I thought it couldn't be done. I had never ice skated in my life until I was 26. So it's not like I grew up playing hockey, but it was always a sport that I liked watching. And I always thought, how cool would it be to be a hockey player? So one day I was just like, I'm a hockey player. I had never skated, but I told myself I'm a hockey player. Go to the used sporting store. I buy a bunch of like raggedy equipment, so the upfront cost wasn't too crazy. And I just started going to local drop-in hockey games. And I was as bad as you would expect me to be, but I stuck with it. And I don't know, I'm close to like 500 games of hockey now. I play from September to April. I play in 2 different hockey leagues, so I'm playing like 100 games a year now. And it all came from that, just having that mindset change of going from I can't do this to screw it, I'm gonna go do it. And the more you can do that, the more your mental health will improve, because you're kind of giving your own self the receipts. If you think about like evidence, like if you're the most critical person in your life towards yourself, then you got to have the receipts. You got to be able to say to yourself, yeah, look, I can do all of these things. And I think all of this stuff, it just helps build your positive feedback loop. There's a tree up here. I'm going to see if I can get some shade so I can read the comments. The walk and talks are a lot easier, like in the spring and fall when it's not just so super sunny. But being that it's like the last day of July, the sun just makes my screen completely blanked out. Are you the enforcer out in the ice? Kind of. I mean, my best ability in hockey is that I'm able to basically skate really fast and break up plays. I'm not very good at shooting the puck, but I mean, it's beer league hockey, so there's no fighting, or at least there's not supposed to be. So it's not like I'm out there like hitting dudes, but if you got the puck, I'm gonna be doing everything I can to lift your stick, and I'm gonna be all over you. But if I do get the puck, I gotta pass it to one of my boys, because if I shoot it, it's gonna go wide, and then I'm gonna get made fun of. I got a wide shot, I can't help it. Here we got some shade. I'm gonna hit up some more comments here. Yeah, I like that. The moment I allowed myself to be a beginner, my life changed forever. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you'll never be the pro at anything that's your first day. That's a great mindset. The more you can just throw yourself into things and sort of enjoy being a beginner, the more you'll grow as a person. This actually is true in like career work as well. So like the people that really excel in like a corporate setting, or like engineering, or like tech jobs, the people that really rise to the top are the ones that are willing to start new projects that have no transferable skills, and they just throw themselves into it and are willing to continuously be like the new person again, because that's how you develop like experience in all these different kinds of things, and that's what ends up giving you like the management position down the road. So becoming a beginner is like the best thing you can do. It actually gives me a good idea. Once my marathon is over, I really should just start swimming, because then I can be a beginner in that, and that'll make it possible for me to do triathlons. So I like that. You're giving me ideas here. I'm gonna get the shade here. Okay, we don't have any new comments. That's fine. Yeah, I always come out to this neighborhood. It's a really nice neighborhood. I don't live in it, but what I like about it is it's naturally got some like hills. So when I go for runs, I can kind of practice my hill running here. And then they got like a really bougie downtown. So there's like 50 parking garages I can run up and down. And beyond that, they have just all kinds of little boutique shops. It's a nice little spot to hang out on a Sunday. The only downside is obviously the extreme sunniness makes it hard for me to read the screen. I might experiment going to the parks for some of these live streams, because then like the tree coverage kind of makes it easier for me to read the screen. The only downside to that is sometimes the signal can be spotty. That is one aspect of the mobile podcast that I'm trying to work out. It's like what to do if my connection kind of gets a little in and out. Because if I was on my own house Wi-Fi, it'd be no problem. It would, there would never be any hiccups. But being out here, it's kind of out of my control if there's a glitch in the cell data and I go, offline for like 20, 30 seconds. And then it kind of ruins the show. So still figuring out, what are spots that I can go to where my signal doesn't get interrupted, and kind of figuring all this stuff out. I'm definitely glad that you guys have joined, and I'm definitely gonna keep doing these. I like the Q&A format because then it allows me to kind of help you guys out with your topics. So I'll probably keep doing these Q&As. I try to go live every Sunday at 11 a.m. Eastern time. So I do live in Detroit. Well, not like Detroit, but I live in Metro Detroit. The actual Detroiters don't like it when you say you're from there. But I go live every Sunday at 11. And then Mondays I come out with my like big video for the week. Usually later in the week I try to have a small video just to kind of get some more content out there. And lately I've been trying my hand at making shorts as well, so you might see some of those pop up. But that's kind of my content schedule. I really kind of primarily focus on diet. So I'm like a good keto coach, but sometimes I'll do videos about, how to do better cardio, how to do better weight training. So they're all kind of related. But with that, I am getting close to the hour, so I think I'm going to start wrapping up. For all of you guys that are, hung on here for, the hour, I really appreciate you guys. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope this stuff was useful for you. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. You'll get more content like this. A lot of my weekly videos are, they're all on topic, so it might not be a live format for, the weekly videos, but the same stuff I'm saying here, I'm saying there with a little bit more structure to it. So let me see. I got a few more. I'm gonna answer a few more questions here, and then I'll probably close out. So we'll give the last one to Mandy. I live in Arkansas. There's a beautiful trail around my community dog park. Down the hill in the park is a baseball field. Yeah, that's nice. Parks are amazing. I've driven through Arkansas. I've never actually really been there. But I've driven across the country for a ski trip once. I drove for like 22 hours straight. Well, I stopped to sleep, but aside from that, did the whole countryside. I love Middle America. Sometimes I kind of wish I lived in it, but I was born in Detroit, and Never really left it. So I'm glad you're enjoying it, though. Lots of beautiful parks, good places for dogs to be. Over here, we don't really have as many dog-friendly parks as I'm sure you probably have out in Arkansas. But yeah, I really appreciate you hopping into this live stream. I hope that all this content was helpful for you. And, we're just going to keep doing stuff like this. So I hope to have you back again soon. Like I said, every Sunday at 11, we go walk around and, talk about topics. And then, we'll go from there. Well, cool. Well, I'm going to get this thing wrapped up. Thanks, everyone, for joining, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.